Today, I will be the one to tell the story of the deep sea giants. The deep sea is a world full of the unknown and mystery. This forbidden place that humans cannot easily set foot in has left us with endless room for imagination. In the myths and legends of seafaring nations, it is filled with all kinds of incredible deep-sea behemoths, from the giant squid like Kraken to the sea serpent like Leviathan. It seems the deep sea is the home of giant sea monsters. In the past few decades, with the advancement of technology, we have finally explored a tip of the iceberg of this mysterious world. The level of wonder here is beyond what humans could imagine, surpassing all expectations. It is like another planet. Although there are no krakens lurking in the deep sea that can disrupt large sailing ships, but when you go deeper, you will indeed find one after another of huge and unfamiliar creatures. The body size of many deep-sea animals far exceeds their relatives in shallower waters or on shore. This phenomenon is known as deep-sea gigantism. For an environment where food is scarce, this seems somewhat counterintuitive. In this episode, we will visit those giant sea creatures that command the deep sea and uncover the reasons behind deep-sea gigantism. Let us dive from the sea surface step by step to the sea. First, we have to pass through the ocean's surface layer, the 200-meter deep sunlight zone. Thanks to the energy bestowed by the sun, this is the most abundant area of the sea. It contains 90% of the world's marine life. Suddenly, two great sea serpents emerge from the dim deep sea. One of them spreads its fins, creating a cross-like shape, as if to display a divine will to the world. It turns out this is an oarfish courting a mate. The oarfish is the longest bony fish in the world, reaching a length of 8 to 11 meters. They usually live in the deep sea, but because they lack a swim bladder, they can swim to the shallow seas without worrying about the change in water pressure. The great sea serpent of ancient European legends was possibly the oarfish, while Japanese fishermen call it the messenger from the Dragon Palace. Following the messenger from the Dragon Palace is a very risky behavior for divers, because it does not sway its body when it swims, but instead relies on its dorsal fin to paddle the water, so you might not notice that it is descending. And you could be led into the abyss by this messenger if you are not careful. Now we follow the oarfish to a sea depth of 200 meters. From here on down is what is scientifically considered the deep sea. The sunlight here is very faint, as if night is falling. Therefore it is called the twilight zone. The light in the twilight zone is insufficient to support photosynthesis for algae and plankton. Due to the lack of primary producers, the food web here must rely on marine snow sinking from the sunlight zone. The name marine snow is poetic, but in reality it is composed of fecal particles, plant and animal fragments, and expired plankton. Although it does not sound very appetizing, it is the only food source for many deep-sea animals, like the vampire squid. This peculiar squid has filamentous tentacles, covered with sticky body hair, which can conveniently collect marine snow. As early as hundreds of millions of years ago in the dinosaur era, it was already consuming this material in the deep sea. In the twilight zone, bioluminescence is a very powerful skill. Over 90% of the creatures living in this environment are bioluminescent. They do this for illumination, to lure prey, attract mates or confuse predators. At a depth of 700 meters, we encounter a siphonophore. It emits a dazzling blue light. As soon as prey gets close, it will be subdued by its tentacles full of venomous stingers. Siphonophores can reach a length of over 100 meters, making them the longest animal in the world. However, it is not strictly a single individual, but a superorganism that exists between a colony and a multicellular organism. It is composed of millions of individual zooids. The zooids work together like organs, each responsible for different functions like digestion, swimming, reproduction, and other functions. Therefore, if they separate from the superorganism, most zooids cannot survive on their own. At a depth of 1,000 meters, we encounter the real-life kraken, the giant squid. It is a symbol of the mystery of the deep sea. For thousands of years, people could only guess its habits from deceased specimens and stories passed down by fishermen. To guess its habits, it was not until 2004 that humans first captured footage of a living giant squid. The largest known giant squid today is 13 meters long and weighs 275 kilograms. It is the longest living mollusk. They are active predators, feeding on large fish and other cephalopods. Specimens that have washed ashore indicate that they will even consume the eyes of their own kind while they are alive. Although the giant squid is the longest mollusk, it is not the heaviest. At a depth of 1,000 to 4,000 meters, sunlight completely disappears. Therefore, this area is called the midnight zone. In this dark, deeper sea region, even more massive sea creatures are hidden. The colossal squid. Their length is slightly shorter than the giant squid, only 10 meters, but their weight reaches up to 600 to 700 kilograms, making it the heaviest invertebrate in the world. Food is almost impossible to find in the midnight zone. 90% of the marine snow has been consumed by the creatures above. This makes the size of the colossal squid seem very counterintuitive. However, it is precisely the sparse environment that led to its gigantism. Kleber's law suggests that the larger an animal is, the more efficient its energy use tends to be, which is actually an advantage in a sparse environment. An elephant that weighs 100 times more than a human does not need 100 times the energy of a human, because the larger the animal's body size, the smaller its surface area to volume ratio becomes, and the less likely it is to lose heat, so the energy required per unit volume is also less. 500 kilogram colossal squid surprisingly only needs 30 grams of prey per day. It can be said to have interpreted Kleber's law to the fullest extent. A very low metabolism means that this giant cannot actively pursue its prey. It can only wait patiently for prey to come to it, and then use its tentacles to ensnare it, in order to evade the pursuit of its predator, the sperm whale. In the dark midnight zone, the colossal squid evolved the largest eyes in the world. Its eyeball diameter can reach 27 centimeters, which is larger than a basketball. Although there is no sunlight in the midnight zone, plankton are bioluminescent. They can faintly outline the silhouette of a sperm whale. It is presumed that the colossal squid can detect large moving objects from over 120 meters away. Food scarcity is not the only reason for deep-sea gigantism. Actually, the cold seawater itself can cause gigantism. Bergmann's rule suggests that the body size of marine animals tends to increase as the temperature decreases. In the icy deep sea, low temperatures prolong the life of cells, increase cell size and lower metabolism. In fact, deep-sea gigantism is most common in the Arctic and Antarctic oceans. Even in shallow waters, starfish, sponges, and worms are also larger than their temperate relatives. At a depth of 2,000 meters in the Arctic Ocean, the water temperature is only -2 to 7 degrees Celsius, below freezing but not frozen, is because the freezing point of seawater is lower than fresh water. Here lurks the king of the Arctic Ocean, the Greenland shark. It can grow to 7 meters long and weigh 1.4 tons, making it the largest fish in the area. The extremely cold environment not only gave it an immense size, but also made it the longest living vertebrate, with a lifespan of 300 to 500 years. That is to say, many of the Greenland sharks on Earth today may have been swimming in the sea as early as the Qing dynasty or even the Ming dynasty, and were already swimming in the sea. Of course, as a price for its long life, the Greenland shark's metabolism is also exceptionally slow. Their cruising speed is only 0.72 meters per second. Because their speed is too slow, they need to ambush sleeping prey. But if they have a choice, these sharks often won't waste their energy on active hunting. Instead, they rely on their keen sense of smell to find food, the remains of large animals. They will feast hurriedly, storing large amounts of food in their stomachs, ensuring they won't go hungry for a long time to come. In their stomachs, an entire reindeer has even been found. Some viewers may have noticed that the Greenland shark's eyes often have a white line hanging from them. Actually, that is not its own tissue, but a type of parasitic coppa. It will consume the cornea, attaching itself to the eye, causing the host to lose its sight. This unfortunate sight is truly unsettling. To think that the Greenland shark has to wander for hundreds of years in such a state. For hundreds of years, a sense of sorrow can't help but rise from the bottom of my heart. Perhaps the most unfortunate fate in the world is to be turned into a Greenland shark. The dark midnight zone is already eerie and intimidating enough, but below it, at a depth of 4,000 to 6,000 meters, there is an even more mysterious abyssal zone. It is like a realm from another world. This thing that looks like an alien creature is called the bigfin squid. Its tentacles are as slender as a jellyfish's tendrils, reaching a maximum length of 8 to 12 meters. Its head is very large, broad fins, which is where its name comes from. Since the first sighting of a live one in 1988, humans have only encountered them about 20 times. Therefore, little is known about its habits. Scientists speculate that the bigfin squid drags its tentacles across the sea to catch edible creatures, or it will simply spread its tentacles and patiently wait for zooplankton to bump into them. Equally rare to encounter is the giant phantom jelly. Since its discovery in 1899, it has only been seen by humans a little over 100 times. It is one of the largest animals at this depth, possessing 4 ribbon-like tentacles over 10 meters long, and a bell-shaped body 1.4 meters in diameter. Although the giant phantom jelly is extremely rare, their range of activity is quite extensive. It seems to be distributed in all seas except the Arctic Ocean, and it appears at depths from 700 to 6,600 meters. However, larger giant phantom jellies mostly appear near hydrothermal vents, where there is an abundance of plankton, which is likely their main source of food. When we have crossed the river of the underworld, we have also entered the realm of the underworld. For most sea areas, 6,000 meters is already the sea, but our journey is only halfway done. On the abyssal plains, there are also bottomless trenches. They can reach a depth of 11 kilometers. That is the kingdom of Hades, the underworld, the Hadal zone. Its English name Hadal is derived from Hades. At the bottom of the 11-kilometer deep Mariana Trench, the water pressure is as high as over 1,000 standard atmospheres. This is equivalent to 2,000 African elephants standing on your back. But even in such an extreme environment, there are animals that are thriving. These things that look like prawns are amphipods. They survive by scavenging various biological debris. For them, water pressure is not a big issue, because they themselves contain a lot of water. And water is very difficult to compress. What is even more strange is that these amphipods grow very large, exceeding 30 centimeters in length, while their shallow water relatives are only 5 to 20 millimeters. Actually, one of the reasons for their dramatic size may be the extreme water pressure itself, because as the water pressure rises, the viscosity of the seawater increases, and a larger body size helps the animal overcome the water's viscosity, allowing them to breathe better. Our journey ends here. To prevent everyone here from developing a fear of the deep sea, we must quickly return to the surface. Humans are always focused on searching for extraterrestrial life in the vast universe, searching for extraterrestrial life, so much so that they often forget that in the dark deep sea, there are still countless secrets hidden. The will of life far exceeds human imagination. No matter how harsh the environment, it cannot prevent them from thriving. They will even grow to be even larger. Perhaps in some dark abyss, there are still undiscovered giants lurking. Perhaps when you gaze into the abyss, an unknown sea monster is also gazing back at you. Your support is the driving force behind my creations. Please give a like, comment, and share. We will see you next time.